Hi everybody and welcome once again to Capricorn Radio. This is your host James Swagger, and in just a moment I'm going to be talking to Maxwell Igan. He's a returning guest, and if you haven't checked out Max before, you can check him on the archives here at capricornradio.com. There you can check out all the archives, check out the links for YouTube and Facebook group as well. Also, you can check out Max's work at crowhouse.com. Max is a super interesting guy to listen to, very, very sobering and very truth-orientated. And this is the second show today. I've talked to his other friend, Ken O'Keefe, and I'm going to stitch these two guys together for a show. But without further ado, let's welcome our guest today. Welcome to Capricorn Radio, Max.
Thanks for having me on, James. Always a pleasure to come and have a chat to you, mate.
Yeah, you know, the last time we spoke, Max, you were going to go off to Peru, and you have done. And I contacted you thinking you were home, but you weren't just home. You were just almost there. But here you are now. Tell me what's happening in Peru. What did you do there? What was the agenda?
Well, what we did, I went there to film or gather footage for a new documentary I want to make, which is not just about Peru, but about the Earth in general, and just, I need to pay attention to what we're doing to this place. Caught up with Ben Stewart while I was over there, which was great. He's going to appear in the new film. I went to a lot of areas in Peru. I went to Pucallpa, because Pucallpa's a timber town. I wanted to show that side of what's going on. Went up to the Sacred Valley and got some footage up there. Went to Iquitos and got some footage in the jungle. So I covered a lot of ground, and one of the things we found was that there is a massive amount of clear cutting that's going on in the Amazon as well. We found huge areas as big as 20 and 30,000 hectares that have just been hacked out of the middle of the jungle.
Wow.
Planting crops like cacao and even papaya. I mean, papaya grows anywhere like a weed, but they're clearing the Amazon to grow papaya, and they're also planting trees for palm oil, because McDonald's and all these companies use palm oil. The sad part is, though, that the palm oil that they use, the palm trees that they use, actually destroy the soil where you grow them. So you only get 2 or 3 years of crops out of these things, and then they just move on and clear fell another area and plant a new crop. And this is what's going on in the Amazon, because people aren't paying attention. It's all illegal clear felling that's going on. Sometimes the companies are getting caught for it. Sometimes they're getting in a little bit of trouble, but nothing enough to deter them from what they're doing. And when they do get in trouble and they get caught doing this, they just sort of walk away for a few weeks. And then when no one's looking, they go back and they continue to do it. And that's what's going on in the Amazon. It was quite shocking, really, to see it all.
Wow, that sounds shocking in general. Yeah, I mean, wow, I always thought the Amazon was just the loss of trees, but you know, when I hear people talk about it lately, it's the loss of medicine, it's the loss of rare plants, it's the loss of, culture, and,
Well, yeah, it is, and that's one of the big things that we're hearing there from the villagers as well, is that they're not able to go into the jungle and gather the medicines that they usually gather, and now they're being forced to go into town and buy pharmaceuticals. So you can see where all this is leading as well.
Yeah, I mean, we're just told it's just they're losing a couple of trees, and, it's a simplified model of what's really happening. But, wow, that sounds like an interesting documentary, Max. How long is that going to take you to produce then? Because I know you have the footage. You said something like 1.5 terabyte of footage?
Yeah, we've got over almost 2 terabytes of video footage to go through, so it's going to take a little while. I do want to get the film out as early as possible. I was aiming for March.
Wow.
But the sheer volume of footage we've got to go through, I don't know whether I'm going to have it done by that schedule, but I'm hoping to. But there's a lot of this going on. That's just part of what the film will be focused on. I mean, I want to launch a project this year called the Full Circle Project, and I want to use the film to launch the project. And
wow,
the project will be aimed at, part of the project will be aimed at buying sections of Amazon rainforest so we can hold it in trust for the local tribes, people that live there, to stop it being clear-felled like this. But another side of it is I want to create an initiative that can be used in basically every community around the planet, a mechanism by which communities can use to empower their community. We've got to start empowering people on a local level all around the planet to take the power back and rein these governments in. I mean, they're all out of control, all of our governments. And none of them are serving the people anymore, that's for sure. And we keep looking for legal remedy, and we keep attempting to vote in new political parties and all this sort of stuff, when really I think we need to step above the whole thing. We've got to put the power back into the community. We've got to put governments back in their correct position as public trustees, which is what they are. They're not our rulers, they're not our leaders, they're simply people we employ to manage our infrastructure for us. And we have to turn the tables a little bit and get the empowerment back into the minds of the people, because that's all it is. It's mind control. That people think they're disempowered, but they're not. We're all actually quite powerful, and so I want to use the film to launch a project which can be aimed in that direction, to empower communities all around the planet, and also to buy sections of Amazon and hold them in trust to keep them preserved and keep them safe for the future.
Wow, that sounds fascinating, Max. That sounds fascinating. Yeah, I think, was it Ecuador's tried something like that, and they said, you can buy some of our rainforest. If you Western world really want to, he put it out there, I think, that, if the Western world really wants to save the rainforest, well, buy some of it. Show us your money and buy some of it, so...
well, that's what I intend to do. There's large sections of it that are already earmarked for conservation, and we can buy them. But what I want to do is buy sections that aren't earmarked for conservation. Like there's a section of land I visited, controlled by people called the Huey-Toto people, and they're in a desperate way because their land is being clear-felled from underneath them, and there's nothing they can do about it because they don't have the money to bribe the right politicians to stop the clear-felling happening. Because it all really runs on bribery. I mean, that's the way it is. They're very open about it in Peru. It's the way it runs in our world as well. We're just not open about it. We call it lobbying in our countries, but really it's
lobbying. Yes, it's
the same thing. It's bribery. So this is what's going on there. So what I want to be able to do is go and create a fund whereby I can go and buy the Huey-Toto land, all of it, and then I can appoint the Huey-Toto people as trustees and caretakers of that land. And in Peru, if you buy land, you've got to be using it for something. So, okay, how do we use the land for something and still preserve it if it's not earmarked for conservation? Well, what I believe we could do would be set up a border patrol and take tourists in there and take them around the border patrol and educate them on the need to preserve the rainforest, so we can turn the place into a tourist attraction without actually doing anything to harm the forest at all, simply by maintaining the border patrols that we would need to maintain in order for the Huey-Toto people to look after their land. Because if no one's patrolling the borders, well, poachers are going to come in and chop the trees down anyway, because that's what they do. So I'm finding these tribes that want to be involved and want to preserve their land that haven't got the funding to do it. I'm figuring that the foundation that I create can go in and purchase their land and appoint them as trustees and caretakers of that land. Make sure we've got the right people, the village elders, the people who really do care about the land and want to preserve the land, and we can just create an umbrella for them and a mechanism by which they can do it. I mean, I don't want their land. I'll buy their land, but I don't want it. I just don't want the companies to get it. I want them to be able to keep it. So we need to create some sort of a mechanism by which this can happen, So, and that's what I'm trying to do with this Full Circle project.
Wonderful. Tell me about Ben's involvement then. What does Ben do?
Well, Ben Stewart, he made a film called Esoteric Agenda, Chimatica, Ungrip. He's made a few films, and
sorry, wow.
He's quite well known, and he was in my last film, Transformation, as well. He's actually got his partner actually works in a retreat in the Sacred Valley, and Ben's down there at the moment in a town called Pisac.
Pisac, yeah. Oh, where the monuments are, yeah, the temple.
Yeah, well, Ben's in Pisac at the moment with Barbara, and she's working on a health retreat there. I think it's called Sanandawasi, and so he's there until the middle of December. But while I was in Peru, it just worked out. There was a window there for Ben to come. We've worked together on projects before. He was in my last film, and he was happy to come and be involved in this as well. So, I mean, we're on the same path. We're both trying to change the world. We're both trying to save the forest, and it was just good to have him involved. I like working with Ben. We've done a lot of stuff previously. He's actually coming out to Australia in February, I think, and we're doing a speaking tour around Australia in February and March. So that'll be something to look forward to as well.
Wow, that's interesting. When I went to Peru, Max, I just fell in love with the place. I fell in love with the people, and I fell in love with the appreciation for the earth. I came home with an appreciation for the earth, Max. And I'm not a hippie. I'm not out hugging trees every day. Like, not that there's anything wrong with that, and I do indulge in it now and again, but I came home with an appreciation for the earth, and that shocked me, because that's not why I went. I went for a bit of adventure, see some ancient sites, ancient cultures, and, you know, these people, you know, their land is very sacred to them, Max, and quite rightly so. It's a beautiful part of the world and very energetic.
It is. There's a particular energy in Peru that doesn't seem to be anywhere else. It's a remarkable place. It really is. And a lot of people that go there do discover this connection that we have to the earth, and it's very important that people do rediscover that connection. I mean, that's one of our biggest problems, is that we've lost that connection. If we still had that, our societies wouldn't be doing what they're doing. They wouldn't be reaping the destruction that they're reaping around the world.
Just as you say, you talk about governments there. These guys have really lost their way. They've lost their servitude. They've lost their morals. They've lost everything. They've just lost the whole plot, really.
Well, we've got a psychopathic system, unfortunately. It's got psychopathic and sociopathic parameters, and if you are to succeed within the parameters of this system, then it's only really the psychopaths and sociopaths that succeed and become politicians and get to positions where they can lord over others. So when we look at these people and think, well, they've lost their humanity, the point is that they probably never really had any to begin with, because if they did, they would never have succeeded as a politician, because you can't. If you're a caring person with ideals and a strong moral compass, you'll never ever succeed in modern politics. Not to the position where you're actually in control of something. You'll just get chewed up and spat out the other side of the machine. So the people that make it to the top are all sociopaths and psychopaths, and you can just confirm that simply by looking at the state of all of our countries, looking at the legislation these people are bringing in. I mean, normal people don't do this. So, you know, people have to stop believing that they can somehow petition these people or appeal to their moral compass or something, because they don't have one. They're psychopaths. That's the unfortunate truth, and that's why we have to rein the system in ourselves and create something a little bit more beneficial for the people, so that the balance of power isn't so tilted as it is now.
Sure. One thing I'm in total agreement with you is that this money system that these guys use, they use it as a tool for control. They use it for a tool to act out their psychopathic control. But I mean, for me, you'll probably agree with this. We're living in changing times, Max. I mean, and more so at a growing rate. I think there's a lot more people waking up. I think there's going to be a cascade effect, Max, because these guys kind of tripped themselves up here. This latest recession, this latest engineered scheme that they have orchestrated, I think they've gone too far this time, Max. I mean, I think people can see it for what it is now. Whereas before, and any of the Great Depressions or any of the other money system engineered plots that they have cyclically acted out, like, I think this time, Max, they've put something in place that people that can see, and they're living it out now, and people, I think there's a lot more people can wake up yet, Max, but I think I'm excited with the amount of people waking up.
Well, yeah, I mean, it gets to a stage where you can't help but see it, and they're stumbling, and they're making mistakes now because so many people are waking up and they're running scared. And all they can do is use the same machinations that they've always used and the same methodology that they've always used, and hope that people don't notice. But more and more people are, as you say. And I don't think there's anything they can really do to keep human consciousness down anymore. The only thing the only card they've really got to play is depopulation. Keep people in a state of scarcity as much as they can, keep them running as fast as they can on the treadmill so they don't notice what's going on around them, and just depopulate as quickly as they can. And that's what they're doing. And they're doing it through GM food, through chemtrails, through the wars, through everything. I mean, there's so many methods in place to do it. Coal seam gas mining, all of it. It's all pointing towards Agenda 21 and depopulation. And there's nothing really more that they can do. I mean, this is the only card they've got to play. And the more they play it, the more people are waking up. The danger is that people will lapse into violence, and they will stage some sort of a violent revolution and try to overthrow their old parents and put new parents in place. And I believe that there's a peaceful way to do this, simple non-compliance, which can be achieved if we have united, respectful communities. So that's the card I think we should play. Yeah,
non-conformity, I try to tell people, is a good starting point. You know, I think it's a good way. Like, just don't conform to their system in small little ways, any little way you can. You know,
Yeah, just question authority on every single occasion you can. But you've got to respect your neighbours. You've got to have this strong, empowered community around you. If you do it on your own, you get eaten up by the big machine. If we can put down all our stuff with our neighbours and have strong, respectful communities, we change the world in a day. Because really, if you trace it down, if you trace the whole mechanism down, you can say, okay, the money system is the glue that holds it together. Absolutely. That's how it all works, through the marginalisation of different countries by the massive offset of the distribution of wealth. Because the wealth is so out of balance all around the planet, and they transfer wealth around the planet. So they use the money system as the glue to hold the mechanism together. We look at that and go, okay, well, why is all that in place? Well, it's because of legislation by government. All the corruption, all the pollution, all the problems that we face, the things that the corporations get away with, it's all because of legislation that's put in place by government. Okay, so what causes that? Well, it's because the people are disunited and disempowered. They don't believe that they can control government. But all government are public trustees. Of course we can control them if we had united communities. So that's where the focus has to be. It's always got to come down to the individual changing their heart space, respecting themselves enough to respect the people around them. That's when the world changes, because that's the root of the problem.
Do you think they use things like pop culture and you got your pop idol on telly and you got your, these reality TV shows that are a lot of, they think they want people to focus on their TV programs instead of focusing on the reality of the situation. And
oh, yeah, absolutely. It's all programming. It's all distraction. It's all to keep you from ever discovering yourself. That's why they've had to move to reality TV as well, because people weren't being distracted enough by the movies. It was too obviously a fictional world. But now they've reduced people's lives to the point where they don't really have lives, and so they can go onto TV and watch someone else living a normal life and enjoy that and live that life with them. So still don't have to focus on their own lives. And these people in these so-called reality TV shows, it's not reality TV. You've got a bunch of people put in a contrived situation and you call it reality. It's so far from reality, it's ridiculous. The fact that they've got cameras in their house and they're on TV all the time, this isn't reality, folks, I mean...
Orchestrated, semi-reality.
It is. It's all orchestrated, and it's all there to distract people.
Well, I could never handle this. I never watched many movies anyway, Max, but I could never handle these hero movies that they used to ramp out. How many Bruce Willis hero movies is there? But, I mean, I could never handle them. I'm like, what? The hero is today, and we're supposed to just accept this and release and...
Well, they're pressure valves. They're release valves. The people can go to the movies, they can go to the roller coaster ride of the action-adventure movie, and at the end of the movie, the good guy wins, and they can identify with the good guy. They project themselves into the movie, and they come out sighing a sigh of relief, and they've gone through that whole emotional journey of seeing a world in a bad situation and having it healed by the hero, and they feel all satisfied when they come out. These are little pressure valves. Without things like this, society would have exploded into civil war years ago. That's what a lot of these films are about. And also the subtext in the film is there to get people to accept different advances in technology, get people to accept the surveillance state, get people to accept the fact that police are violent and that it's good for them to be that way. I mean, you look at a movie like, say, Bad Boys. And, the cops are there. You got Will Smith there. Everybody likes Will Smith. Great guy, beating people up with a smile on his face and doing it in such a way that you agree with him. You think it's good that he beat that thug up that way. And unnecessary violence all the way through the movies, delivered with a smile and in a nice way, programs people to accept that this is the way police act. But they're all nice guys. They're all there to protect society. I mean, we all love Will Smith. So this is the programming, subtle programming that people get in their minds by watching these movies. I watch them. I like to see what they're feeding people. But when I look at a movie, I look at the subtext. I just
watching it for the wrong reasons, Max.
Yeah, I watch it for the wrong reasons. People have a terrible time watching movies with me because I'm analysing the movie.
I'm terrible at it. I criticise when they're like, shut up and just watch the movie. And I'm like, I can't.
Yeah, well, it's like that, but it's interesting to see how people are programmed, and that's what they're for. They're multifunctional. One is a release valve and one to program people, and it's not always the programming that you see on the surface. It's very often the subtext.
I often find as well, Max, that some of the stuff they put in the movies is like what they're trying to act out. It's like they're trying to, subliminally messages. This is what you're going to be conditioned to, so get used to it, type of thing.
Of course. Oh, of course, with the advances in technology and the surveillance state and all this sort of stuff. You look at the latest Superman movie, though. Just in the scenes where Superman was talking to his father, and they introduced things such as nanotechnology. They had nanotechnology communication systems that were floating around, talking to each other in real time. They had birthing chambers where people weren't allowed to have babies. They had to be birthed, and babies were born to perform a certain role. Well, this sort of stuff is subliminal programming, getting you ready for this type of future that's been created. Something like Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, only far, far more advanced than that. And so that's what a lot of the subtext is for. It's just to get used to this type of technology, microchip technology. There's a show on TV in America at the moment called Continuum. There are people that are upgraded with retina scans and retina readouts and a whole program running in their heads and little chips in their heads and suits that can turn themselves invisible and all sorts of stuff like this. Just getting you ready for all this type of technology to lead you towards transhumanism, make it all look attractive, the fact that you might have digital implants and be able to hook up to the internet without any wires through a chip in your brain, have Google projected into the frontal lobe, all this sort of stuff. Just make it attractive. That's what a lot of these shows are all about.
Wow, they're deluded in a way. They are deluded that they're going to win this, because I don't think people's going to accept this. I think there's a growing number of people. I think we're on the edge of a cascade effect, Max. I think that's where we're going at the moment.
Well, I think we are too, but I don't want to be complacent about it, because there are a lot of people that will accept it. There are a lot of people who look forward to such a reality. They look forward to transhumanism. They think it's a great idea. There are a lot of people that are still programmed into their televisions. And the televisions can present people like you and I and people who refuse to accept implants. It can present us to the people that are programmed as terrorists and make us someone to fear. Project us as being someone to fear, and that way the government can come and crack down on a lot of people, and a lot of people will accept it. And they don't particularly need a lot of people left alive. They could conceivably reduce the population of the Earth to 500 million, like they would like to do, and that would still leave enough people left over to have worker drones. You don't really need that many people to run this system. So as much as people are waking up, it's important that people don't become complacent in that fact, and that they do continue to work and to speak out and to wake up their neighbours and to lead by example in all that they do, and don't just sit back waiting for the world to wake up and think, oh, it's all getting better, because it's only going to get better if we participate. And that's a message that I really like to bring home to people. Yes, there are a large numbers of people waking up to the fact that everything is all messed up, but a lot of them are waking up to realities that still aren't real. A lot of people are waking up into fear. They're waking up and believing all sorts of things that are going to happen. And a lot of people aren't really waking up into empowerment. And so it's up to us, and it's up to people like yourself with this radio show to help people become empowered in the knowledge that they're getting and realize that there is a way out, but it comes down to their participation, and you can't be complacent.
Yeah. Somebody was asking me about my show the other day, and it was a guest, and I say, why do you do this? And I went, I do it for truth. And they're going, aren't you scared of the truth? And I said, the truth is the truth. It's not democratic. The truth is something I need to explore, and I will do it at any cost. I don't care anymore. I want the truth, no matter what that truth is. I don't care how horrible it is, how bad the reality is. But, and I try to tell people too, Max, it's not just enough to wake up. You need positivity, and you need solutions. I mean, there's no point in doing shows like this, Max, unless or your show. I'm sure. I know you give out solutions too, Max, and you like to tell people what the reality is, but give them a mechanism to. It's like about respect and honor and truth and justice, and it's what to look for in people, and how to be to others in love and compassion and empathy. Positivity and solutions is the way for me. It's not just about shaking somebody and waking them up and say, look, this is the world now. Positivity and solutions for me, definitely. And it's kind of hard to see them sometimes, and hard to give people an answer that they need to hear, or a solution. I find it hard to give the solutions, but I'm just saying that you do need positivity and solutions.
Well, you do, and it's tricky for some because they don't understand that the solution is themselves. A lot of people want a magic bullet. They want a form they can fill out. They want to know there's somebody they can vote for or someone they can put in place. Max is going to start a movement. He can lead us out of this. You tell them that no one can lead you out except yourself. It's up to you to change your perspective and change the way you interact with reality around you. And you say that to people and they think you're off on some new age tangent or, something. It's not something that they can pick up. It's not a form they can fill out. It's not something that they can go and touch with their hand. It's literally down to them changing their perspective and changing the way they treat the people around them. That's what it's all about. And that's why it's got to come down to respect. It's got to come down to knowledge of yourself and real knowledge of yourself. So you understand what reality is and how it works, so you can judge people differently to what you have been. Stop judging people the way we do. Stop profiting from people. Start giving to people. Stop basing all of your life on the economic model. I mean, sure, we all need money to survive, but there's a time is coming when I don't think we will. Because, ultimately we don't. Money's fiction. It's been created by us to provide scarcity and to enslave people into an economic model which is completely fictional. And so this is something that I've really tried to convey to people is the need for people to give to those around them and to break down these economic barriers that hold them back. That's a really hard program to break.
Sure.
But, I think...
Bitcoins, Max, these Bitcoins thing that they've invented, basically, do you think this is another trick or distraction, a form of money, another...
Well, it's just a digital currency, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just like another form of paper, really, like some fictitious...
Yeah, I don't really understand it. To me, it seems all digital. People say, you can translate it into real money. Well, whatever. I can't see the point of going down that pathway. I'm not really interested in anything that's digital.
Yeah, I think it's a deflection, from this paper money thing, another... and it's bizarre as well, that, it was created by some mystery figure as well, Mr. X, bizarre.
Yeah.
Probably some government institution somewhere creating this...
Well, I don't know, but, commerce is one of the biggest social pathogens we face. It really is. It's like a pathogen. The need to profit from people, the need to put economics before anything, is a terrible waste of human consciousness, I think. But it's a very difficult program to break. It's based on Kabbalistic principles, and once you superimpose an economic reality over someone's mind, it becomes very, very difficult for them to think of reality without economics, without commerce. It's a very, very difficult program to break people out of. But of course, we didn't always have it. You get a tribal culture, they don't have any economics, they don't trade coins or precious metals with each other. They just live in normal give and take, society, a life of abundance, really. I mean, everything you need is right there. And everything we need is right here. It's all around us. The only thing that prevents us from accessing it is a lack of money. And money is fiction. It's something that we created to place a barrier between us and the abundance of this world. It's an interesting thing.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the commerce now resolves around this fictitious energy crisis that they create, and I think it's just another way to exploit the commerce to all these, and this fracking and the gas exploration and stuff that you're talking about. And
well, I think the gas exploration. I mean, this is all they use money as the glue to hold it together, as they do everything, because people believe money's real. You put people in a state of scarcity, and then you give them a high-paid job fracking the water table. And I think it's great that you're a good company, that gas is environmentally friendly, and that they're getting paid a good wage. And so it's all good. I mean, money's the glue that holds it all together. But fracking ultimately is about destroying the water table, because we don't need gas. I mean, Tesla was going to give us free energy 120 years ago. The powers that be know we don't need gas. They know that free energy exists. So what's the real purpose of coal seam gas mining? Well, the only guaranteed result, 100% guaranteed, is that it's going to disrupt the water table beneath the well. So that's the purpose. That's the purpose of it. And what's happening is that it's destroying groundwater and it's forcing farmers into the cities, and they're having to give up their farmland. Agenda 21. This is all to do with Agenda 21. It's all to do with pushing people into concentrated areas of civilization and stealing their land. We've got stuff going on here. Not only are they fracking in Australia, they've brought in a law whereby you have to fence any water on your property. This means farmers have to fence their dams, they have to fence their creeks. And they're saying, well, I can't fence my creek. There are wild animals, there are kangaroos, there are animals that come here and drink out of this creek. You want me to put a fence around it, you're asking me to kill all these animals. And I say, well, if you don't fence your creek, well, we're going to fine you. There'll be a non-compliance fine of $35,000. They wanted to make it $700,000, a non-compliance fine of $700,000 for not putting a fence around water on your property. So why would they make a fine of $700,000? It's because they're not really interested in you doing the fence. They know you can't completely fence all the water on your property. It's not possible. So that means they get to come and take your house because you can't pay the $700,000 fine. So you get kicked off your farm. You've got to move into the city. They get to keep your farm. Agenda 21. This is how they're doing it all.
Control. They get to exercise these stupid laws they create.
Well, yeah, legislation that they call law. And again, they get away with doing this because we've forgotten who these people are. They're just public trustees. That's all they are. They're not our rulers. They're not our leaders. They're people that we employ to manage our infrastructure for us. And if they are creating legislation and claiming it is law, and then they're using this to steal from us, then they're all in breach of trust. They all should be taken to The Hague and held tried for human rights abuses. Every single politician in the Western world should be taken to The Hague and tried for human rights abuses. Any politician that supports coal seam gas mining, any politician that supports fracking, any politician that supports this non-compliance tax should be taken to The Hague and tried for human rights abuses. Every single one of them.
Sure. Just on the water situation, what's the fluoride situation in Australia at the moment? Is there awareness of it there? Is there people campaigning to get it out? Is it gone out of the water? I don't even know.
There's a lot of campaigning against fluoride here. There's a lot of places that have fluoride. There's a lot of places that don't. There's Byron Bay and Lismore in the Northern Rivers area have just fought very, very hard to make sure that it's kept out of their water supply. The state government is attempting to push it through anyway. But people have been campaigning and fighting very hard, and so far they're winning to keep it out of the water supply in certain areas. But then there's other areas where it's just in there, and it's in there to stay, or so they say. The New South Wales Minister of the Environment basically says, look, it's there, and it's there to stay. There's nothing we can do about it. That's how demented and insane these people are. They think that we can't go and unbolt the fluoride tanks and we can't turn the taps off because some sociopath wrote some rules on a piece of paper and called it law. Mm-hmm. And some agreement was made, so he thinks that nothing can be done because these words were spoken. He's insane. And that's unfortunately the mental state of most of our politicians. These people are completely locked into left brain. They're sociopaths, they're psychopaths, and if they're not, well, they must just be insane because of some of the things they think. I have no time for these people, and I have no sympathy for them, no tolerance for them or whatsoever. I think they all need to be removed from office because I honestly don't know of an honest politician in this country. I really don't.
Wow. Desperate. You know, every time somebody comes stays with me, Max, it's like, you know, I tell them about the fluoride if they don't know, and they're like shocked, and I'm going, it's a poison. It's a Class A waste product in China. Like, you know, we're giving people money to put it into the water, like, because that's the rules that they've made. Like, you know, when you explain the insanity of it, I mean, it's a no-brainer for people. I mean, and people, I've had a lot of people come stay with me this year, just travellers and stuff, and when they've all come, and people, mostly people from America, I've had quite a few American guests come, and they're absolutely shocked. You know, but it's a no-brainer for them. It's automatically, when you lay it down to them, oh my God, I'm not going to use that toothpaste again, and I'm going to drink bottled water. Like, it's like, you know, it's a shock to the system. Like, but I mean, you know, it still surprises me that people aren't aware. But like, you know, it's one of the biggest campaigns and fights I think the fluoridated countries to go to. As you know, Ireland is as well.
Yeah, and it's a cause of a lot of diseases as well. There's even been one doctor go on record and say that we could eliminate 80% of the diseases of the Western world by simply taking fluoride out of the water. Wow. Because it doesn't just keep you dumbed down and calcify your pineal gland and keep you in a state of semi-comatose reality. It also it's a toxin. It's a neurotoxin. It creates all sorts of imbalances in the body. It should not be in the water. But unfortunately, a lot of people just believe what their television tells them. They believe the government studies, and the government studies will always back up the government's line. That's why the government conducts the studies. It isn't to present you with the truth. It's to give you a piece of paper which says, hey, look, we're right, whether they are or not. That's what government studies are all about. I mean, you can't believe anything the government tells you. That should be your number one rule in life. Do not believe one word the government tells you.
The last people I'd be listening to, Max, I tell you anyway. Just let's talk some politics, Max. I mean, you know, we've seen major problems in the Middle East from the Arab Spring and that, like, onwards. And I think, you know, America's game plan again. Another thing they've lost out on is this war on Syria, because a lot of people like really were up in arms with the Americans wanting to go into Syria, even Americans themselves. I think a lot of the Americans woke up over that one as well. Even the ones that weren't awake, they went, oh my God, they want us to go to war again, you know, and it's this destabilization of the Middle East, you know, which is all their game plan really is. I mean, maybe more than that, but I mean, I think this is one key thing where they've lost out again, Max. I mean, they're tripping themselves up here with their games that they're playing.
Well, they are. The whole Syria thing was a huge debacle, and the whole Arab Spring, I mean, this was very much staged. Even the latest president they had in Egypt, Morsi, so-called representative of the Muslim Brotherhood, I mean, all he did was shut down all the tunnels into Gaza. And the Muslim Brotherhood is obviously, well, at least what was put in place in Egypt and presented to us as being under the umbrella of the Muslim Brotherhood. This was obviously Israeli sympathizers, because all they did was work for what Israel wanted the whole time they were in power. And I would, according to my understanding, this is one of the main reasons why a revolution then happened in Egypt. Because with the Arab Spring, the first revolution that happened when Morsi was put in place, I think this was a real backfire for the powers that be, because even though it was a staged revolution and they put a new puppet in place, it gave the people of Egypt, it put it in their minds, the concept that if enough people get on the streets, we can make a difference. Mm-hmm. And so when the puppet regime that they put in place didn't do what the people wanted, the people actually staged a real revolution and overthrew that regime. Right. And that was a good thing to see. But where it's going to go from here in Egypt really is anybody's guess. The main people that have suffered from the whole Egyptian crisis, in my eyes, are the people of Gaza. Again, the people of Gaza always seem to suffer under these circumstances. Most of the tunnels into Gaza have been closed down now. I was actually in Gaza last year. Ken O'Keefe and I actually snuck into Gaza.
Yeah.
Through a rebel tunnel. We were actually crawling on our hands and knees for over an hour to get in there. But we went in to have a look.
That was important what you did, though, Max. That was important because you brought awareness, and when I had tuned into you talking about that, I mean, I wasn't too aware of and I was talking to Ken a little bit about this today in the Gaza aid ship because I had Ken on earlier, but I think I drew some parallels and I brought it into a global perspective for me, because I understand now from your work and Ken's that this, you know, Palestine-Israel conflict, and I'm glad you guys did that, because it made me aware, and now I understand this Northern Ireland thing more, because it's Protestant versus Catholic. It's another oppressive regime where people took up an arms. Now, there is a peace process in Northern Ireland. I'm happy to see it. I'm glad. I think it's working, and I see it. But I mean, it gives you this global perspective when you understand what's going on in another country, and you guys did raise awareness for that, Max.
Well, I hope so. That's what it was all about. I mean, I feel very much for the people in Gaza, and people make the mistake and think this is a religious conflict. It's to do with.
Sorry, no, that was a parallel. I didn't really mean to.
No, but people do. People do think it. They think it's about Arabs and Jews. It's not. It's about genocide and land theft. That's what it's about.
Yeah, well, it's not about that in Ireland either. It's about pro-British or pro-Irish nationalist. It's not. They say Protestant Catholic. Yeah. It's a easy term that we use here.
Of course they do. Wrap it up in religion to disguise what's really going on.
Yeah.
And that way people just think, oh, look at these religious nuts. It's just religious nuts. It's all these religious nuts. The Middle East, Northern Ireland, all this stuff, it's all because of religious nuts. Mm-hmm. It wraps it up nicely, and people just turn the other way, and they don't want to know about it. That's why they do it that way. But we really do want to bring awareness to what's going on in Gaza, because really what you see there is a dispossessed people. And the way of Palestine will be the way of the world if we don't pay attention to it. That's one of the reasons we wanted to show you. We wanted to go in there and show you what's going on there, because it will be the way of the world. These people are completely dispossessed. And that's what happens when you are a dispossessed people. And that's where we're all heading. That's why we'll be heading in this country. That's why we'll be heading in England. You know, the austerity measures that they're bringing in, they're creating homelessness, they're creating poverty, they're creating full prison systems in their private jails they're creating. I mean, all the stuff they're doing. They brought in laws here in Queensland, new bikie laws, that have made it illegal for someone to refuse to answer a question by police.
Really?
Yeah, you can't refuse to answer a question. It doesn't matter what these guys ask you, you've got to answer it. And they've created a special jail for bikers. I mean, it's absolutely horrendous, the powers that they've given police in Queensland and Australia. Unprecedented powers that are so...
what if you gave a silly answer, Max?
Well, exactly. I mean, they're so liable to be used, and abused, these powers. I mean, it's just inviting corruption. And that just shows how corrupt the Queensland government is, that they would even put such laws in place. And it was all to do with a staged little biker war that they had a couple of months ago. They set it all up. They antagonised these two gangs themselves, and they created a situation and dropped a few names and created a scene in a shopping centre where they knew a couple of people were going to show up and they were going to be angry with each other. And the police created the whole thing. And as soon as these guys showed up and there was I think a shot was fired, and that's it. Within 2 days, these new laws were rolled out. Of course, they'd already been written. They were there waiting for this incident to happen so they could roll them out. And people are seeing this, I think, and they're realising that this is getting beyond a joke. So I think a lot of people in Australia are waking up to that. But it's really getting shocking, and it's getting to this point in all of our countries. And so, people need to pay attention to it all. But it'll all end up like Gaza if we don't pay attention to what's going on there and we don't rein our governments in. And stop thinking we can vote in people that are going to fix the problem for us, because the problem is the disempowerment and disrespectful state of our communities. And people have been trained to be this way. They've been trained to feel disempowered, and they've been trained not to respect each other by measuring themselves and each other up to fictional parameters. And so I think we need to pay attention to it all, shift our perspective, and start participating in this world.
I don't think we can ever get rid of politics, but I have to say, Max, I've never voted in my life, and I will refuse to do so. I will not vote for the two-party dictatorship. I would rather do prison time than do it. I really, really would. Now, I do think we do need politics of some level, or some sort of governmental control to some level. I think, like you say, get these guys back into servitude and not into, psychopathic control. But I mean, I think we need politics of some level.
We need people who work in government that govern our infrastructure for us. The last people that should be there to do it are politicians. Politics is simply, diplomacy, political. I mean, you're just compromising and doing this and cracking one-liners at each other. I mean, politics is politics. It shouldn't have anything to do with running a country. Government would be fine if there weren't politicians in government. That's what I think. We don't need politicians in there. We need administrators and workers, CEOs, this sort of stuff, people that are there. This guy's managing the road system. This guy's managing the garbage system. This guy's controlling what's going on at the ports. This guy's controlling the electrical grid. This guy's controlling the school system, all this sort of stuff. So we've got something there that serves the people, completely transparent, and hopefully take us back to a point where we realise that we don't even need any of this at all. If we simply took responsibility for ourselves, we could look after our own neighbourhood and things would be fine. I think we've got a long way to go before we get to that. Sure. But I think that the concept of politicians running a country is ludicrous. We don't need politicians at all. We need responsible people, and you don't find them in politics.
Yeah. For sure. I read a book called Mind, Body and Electromagnetism. It talks a lot about Eastern philosophy and Western philosophy and how they mix together, and some science stuff in it. It was wrote by John Evans. A great book, but I just listened to your recent podcast about the electromagnetic energy of the universe and stuff, and it was nice because I was able to take some of what I learned in that book, and you gave me this, how it relates to fear and control and the human body and how we perceive and react to events and stuff to this energetic universe. Perhaps just tell us a little bit of that ideal there.
Well, you do. So your heart is an electromagnetic generator, and you're communicating with the energy field around you all the time electromagnetically. I did a film in 2009 called The Awakening, where I attempted to bring this understanding to people. The fact that you are speaking in a higher language. It's a language of electromagnetism. We just don't realise that we're part of this ongoing conversation with reality around us all the time, but we're not listening. It's like you invited me on here for a radio conversation, and you're just talking and you're not listening to anything I'm saying. This is kind of what we're doing all the time with reality around us. And just being aware that this conversation is ongoing, and being aware of when your intuition is attempting to speak to you, because this is an electromagnetic language that's coming into your body. You get a feeling. You know this from the feeling that you get. This is all electromagnetic. Everything you experience is electromagnetic. So when you understand how this works, you realize that you're part of this ongoing conversation all the time, and you realize that what reality does is it mirrors back to you the energy that you're putting into reality. So if you're in a state of fear, reality is going to mirror a fearful reality back to you. I'm not in a state of fear with any of the stuff that I know about the world. I'm not in a state of fear for the future or anything that may happen, because I know who and what I am. This is just a temporary existence I'm in anyway. I'm just here to experience this reality via this vessel of my body, which is simply an electromagnetic computer which is downloading a frequency from the surrounding field that I experience as me. So I have nothing to fear. I'm just here participating in this reality. So, just understanding that and understanding this is a temporary existence and that you're participating on an electromagnetic level all the time, this is a very, very empowering understanding to have. And even understanding that what you are, that this is simply a computer, that you are an eternal frequency of energy inhabiting a biological computer for this experience, and then viewing the people around you as that as well. This is an incredibly empowering way of looking at things. It changes your perspective of what people are. And it changes your perspective of how you would judge these people or how you would interact with these people. It negates the need to profit from these people and to base your life on an economic reality. It really does. It just changes everything, just knowing how reality works. That's what I try to bring in this show, to understand that everything is just energy. You're swimming in a sea of energy. And when you can view life energetically and view your interaction with the world and change your interaction with the world to the point where you're interacting with it energetically, you can literally change reality. You can change your own reality, and that will ripple out and change the reality of other people around you.
Energy field. It's just like an energy field.
It is, and I'm living proof that it works. You can do this. I mean, I've managed to reach all sorts of people, and people that I never would have dreamed I could reach simply by changing my energetic state and doing what I do. I don't have any fear of what I do. I don't have any fear of any consequences anybody can deliver to this body. This body is simply a temporary existence anyway. You can't hurt me. I'm infinite consciousness. I'm just here for a little while. So it just changes your perspective. And that's what I tried to present in that show, the concept that this is an energetic universe, and that if you change your perspective of what you are and how you interact with the world, you can change the world. If we all did this, we could change the world in 3 seconds. I firmly believe this to be true.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Tell me about the People's Voice, Max. You've started a couple of episodes on that. That's new and exciting as well.
Well, it is. I mean, I was doing what I'm doing now anyway on radio. I've been doing this for the last 5 or 6 years. Mm-hmm. And when David offered me the show on the People's Voice TV, I just said, well, what I can do is what I'm doing now, because I'm not really interested in putting my face out there. I don't really want to become a television personality. That's not who I am. And it's the last thing that was ever on my mind. So I said, well, I can deliver you shows the way I have been in the same format that I'm doing, just using artwork and video footage. And would you be happy with that? And he said, yeah, he would be. So I've done the third show's just gone to air a couple of days ago now on that network. And it's good. I mean, I'm quite excited that this may be a game changer, the People's Voice. I mean,
I think so.
It's got a lot of hiccups to start with. I mean, but it's a new station. It's running on a shoestring budget. And it really is. I mean, they've only got funding to last another couple of months if people don't start participating. But I hope that it is a game changer. I hope that it reaches more and more people. That's the only reason I moved over to that network. It was in the attempt to reach more and more people, because I think there's a lot of people out there bringing a message of fear. And admittedly, we do have a lot to be concerned about. But rather than being something to fear, I think it's a time of opportunity. I really do. I think this is the greatest opportunity in history we've ever had for a free humanity. And it's great to be out there participating in it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think it's important to be aware of the clear and present danger that's in the world, but don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of it, because, fear's not going to solve anything. Fear is going to just paralyze you, and it's going to keep you in that state. I mean, yes, look at it, don't react to it, just kind of be aware of it and see what way it can be changed. Apply your human skill. Everybody's got human skill. We're engineers. Since the time of 200,000 years ago, we were engineering tools. We were engineering how to survive, how to hunt, how to collect plants and animals. That's what humans are. We're engineers in our own little way. And I think we can engineer our way out of a fear-based control system. I really do. I really have in my mind. I'm from an engineering background. That's the way I see my world. Engineering is psychology. It's like, the world is engineered, tailored for us. This Western democracy that's controlling us, like, to the non-awake, I should say. But it's just engineering. We're being tutored and indoctrinated.
Well, we are, and it's all a product of our imagination. The whole thing. I mean, even this desk I'm sitting at, someone had to imagine it before they could draw it and then build it.
Yeah.
And, it's the reality we've imagined. This is what reality is, and this is what we get. All we got to do is imagine a new one and then work towards creating that as a reality, and we can do it. That's why it's good to become aware of the control grid, but not to be in fear of it, because if you are in too much fear of it and you imagine this huge police state that's going to be built around you, you will create that. And we don't want to create that. We've got to imagine a way out of the police state, and that's what I try to do with the shows.
Yeah, and I listen to some shows, Max, yourself and others, and I get retrospective after it, and I think of how it applies to me, and I think that's the best thing to take out of a show, and take something out of it. You don't have to take it all in. Take some of it, think about it, spit it back out, and be, it's not just about being aware. It's like trying to, use it for something. How does that apply to me, and how can we use these tools, and the answers are all within, Max. I've heard you say that, like, they're definitely within your own soul, and you're in your own mind. You just got to think about it, like, it's not a difficult thing. It's not a complex problem, Max. Like, it's not a, there is a lot of stuff has to happen, like, but I think.
Well, there is. People just have to participate. They do. I mean, it's good to change your energetic state and change your heart space and change your perspective. And that's what I always say. But then once you've done that, you've got to apply it to the world around you. You've got to change the way you interact with people. You're here in 3D reality, and it requires your participation to become a better reality. Too many people sit there in love and light and put themselves in a positive energetic state, and they won't allow any darkness in. Well, by doing that, you're simply allowing the darkness to be perpetuated by refusing to face it, because there is darkness all around us, and it requires your attention. If you give it your attention, you can defeat it. And that's what people have to understand. You're here in this 3D reality, and it requires your participation. It really does.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing that I've been trying to say with the shows as well. You've got to change your heart space, and you've got to change your energetic state, absolutely. But don't forget that you live in this 3D world, and don't forget to apply yourself to it.
For sure. Max, we're at the top of the hour. It's been a pleasure talking to you yet again. I really look forward to the documentary project that you've been working on. I just keep me posted on that, Max, and we'll get a bit of press for you on that. But exciting times with the documentary, Max. I look forward to seeing that. Sounds interesting. Sounds very interesting. And shot in Peru. I got to be watching it anyway. I love Peru, like so. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show, Max.
My pleasure to come on, James. Happy to come on anytime. And I'll keep you posted on the documentary. I'm looking forward to getting it done as well. Looking forward to finishing it. It's going to be a big job, especially while I'm doing the TV shows for David's channel. But I'll get there, and I'm looking forward to releasing it early next year, I hope.
Yeah, and I'm hopeful for the People's Voice too. It's good to see you involved in that, and it's good to see you not having to change the format too much and extra work. And I think that's the good thing that David's doing. He's incorporating the right people into the TV program, and I've got a good few shows in now, and I'm excited about that too. And it is in the hands of the people now, Max. I think that's the thing to finish on. The people are getting involved, and people are consolidating their efforts, and things are growing and going in the right direction. But exciting times we're in anyway, Max, definitely. And you come back again sometime soon.
Absolutely, pleasure.
Take care, man.
Okay, bye-bye.